Welcome. It's January 12th, 2021. My name is Joe Weston, and we're here for our weekly online global practice for reviving the global heart. Um, as you know, we've been meeting regularly to hold space for a world of that can
Hello.
possibly met. Hey, Paul, I'm just getting us started, so settle in for a second. Um, a world where we can actually see lasting peace manifest. And as we've said, that in this world of extreme polarization that we have, where extremes are pushing against each other for trying to determine who is right. It's a lot of people just trying to have their voice be heard. And like two rams pushing against each other, there's a lot of energy going into this force with maybe not a lot that's actually being manifested and being taken care of. And that what we're looking at is how can we break that pattern and open up to other alternatives. And also with this idea that it's in this extreme, it's in this pressure cooker that new energies can be released, that new ideas can manifest, that new solutions can emerge, that healing and reconciliation can happen. And if we're ever in the pressure cooker right now, it's right now. This week, I've invited Paul Swearengin to speak with us, and I'll say a bit about him. But I just want to say a couple of words because this is the first time we're meeting as a community since the events of what happened in Washington, D.C. last week. And I don't want to say too much about it, and I'm not here to get into politics, but I just want to remind us that when we talk about this practice, for those of you who have been doing it for a while, we talk about this idea of how can we cultivate a certain level of resilience and fierce compassion to open our hearts to take in as many human beings as we can take in. And it's a practice. We're not human beings. We're not necessarily. Some of us might be on the path to being able to truly hold all human beings in their hearts with equal amount of time and attention for each human being. That's 7.5 billion. I'm not there yet. That's why I'm practicing it, trying to stretch that muscle. And just like in any practice, it's important to set clear boundaries of know what can you take on at any given time. And this question has come up a couple of times. It could be overwhelming to take all human beings into your heart, particularly at this time when there's so much volatility happening and it feels like so much is, some people might feel that their personal safety is at threat. And so I say that in this practice, there's also a sense of being compassionate to yourself and to be gentle. And to always remember that in this practice of we're softening this idea of what the labels we place on people of loved one, stranger, and adversary, and how fluid that can be, and how things can morph, and how that can always change. And that what we're shifting, it's not about them. There's no rigidity on their side. It's our rigidity that we're shifting to try to be open. And that in that, we can acknowledge that we can't get there with everyone. And that because a lot of people are calling me and emailing me and asking me, Joe, how do we deal with this? How do we talk to these people who have committed such crimes, in a sense, as you can interpret that way? And I would say they're not the ones we need to talk to right now. They're not going to listen. We're not going to have anything nice to say to them. So they're not the ones we have to talk to. And there are billions of other people that we can be talking to. So to just remember that, to be gentle with yourself, and to remember that there are some people who are hurting, and there are some people who are caught in some kind of what I would say spell, where they are not connecting with a part of what's of themselves where they can access their hearts. And that our practice is the more we can cultivate resilience and fierce compassion, the more we can engage with people to call them to their humanity. Some people are ready to hear the call and some aren't. And I just want to fundamentally believe that there are more people on this planet who are ready to hear that call than not. So I just want to share that. And I think the perfect person to bring in to come and speak a bit more about this is a friend of mine, Paul Swearengin, who he is, well, I'll just say what He's a licensed minister and former senior leader of an evangelical church that he founded in 2008. He is the creator of and host of the podcast, the Nonpartisan Evangelical Podcast. That's what it's called. And the work that he is doing through TikTok and his books and YouTube and social media to appeal to people to understand how we can get caught up in our beliefs and not be connected necessarily to our values. I would say he's a warrior on that path. And I have such fun conversations with him, and and I just love his Paul. I just love your heart and your care and your wisdom, and I'm just so grateful to have you here. So I'm going to just leave it at that and ask Paul, what are your thoughts on what's happening, and what is your feelings about this idea of reviving the global heart? And if you want to give more context to who you are, please feel free.
Sure. I love that. And when I look at what's going on in the world, I look at it from my context as a Christian pastor, and from the Christian Bible, it talks about this idea of hardening your heart, and says, don't let your heart be hardened as your fathers did in the desert. And when the Bible talks about a hard-hearted people, it was people that, because they had a mindset of being slaves or oppressed or victims, they struggled to grab onto the hope and the promise that was ahead of them. And I love this picture from the movie Gran Torino, a Clint Eastwood movie. If you've ever seen that movie, it's a great one if you haven't. But his character, Stanley Kowalski, was a Korean War veteran who had been taught to hate Southeast Asian people, and that they were coming to get him and take something from him. And in his older years back in America, his neighborhood began to diversify with these Southeast Asian people, in fact, moving right in next door. And he was having a hard time unhardening his heart from his old mindset about these people that had been his enemy. And so he was very crass and cruel to them and just wanted to be left alone. But they continued to show him honor and goodness, even as he was very cruel to them. And soon it opened up a little door for him to come over and eat at their house. And that humanity, him seeing the humanity of these people that he had dehumanized, a mindset that may have served him well at one point in his life, but he began to realize that he was limiting his opportunities of his heart because he had hardened his heart toward these people, and he began to allow it to be softened, and soon found a whole opportunity of a new purpose in life. And I won't ruin the movie for you, but he ultimately feels very compelled to be a warrior for this family that he hated so much before. And I just love that principle from the biblical perspective. And we have a story of the Pharaoh and the plagues of Egypt, where I was reading it yesterday, and this really interesting pattern occurs as this story unfolds in the Bible. At the beginning of the first couple of plagues in the Bible, it says that Pharaoh hardened his heart, and he refused to sort of hear what was being told to him in the moment of his life. And then in the middle plagues, it says Pharaoh's heart was hardened. And then for the final plague, it makes this sort of ominous statement that God hardened his heart. And I feel like what I want to tell a lot of my friends today is, like, every time you have an opportunity to sort of unharden your heart, to open your heart to different possibilities, and you say no, it becomes a little bit harder and a little bit harder, to where, like Stanley Kowalski, those mindsets become so ingrained, it becomes almost impossible for us to turn them around. And so I just challenge people, like, every time you have your chance to open your heart to a new idea, to a new person, to a new possibility, lean into that. That doesn't mean you have to say yes to it or go for it, but just leaning into the possibility of, like, oh, I may learn something new today, or I may meet somebody new today, or I may be able to humanize somebody that was dehuman to me before. Something happens to my heart that I become open to new possibilities and refuse to let my heart be hardened. And so that's kind of the advice I give to each other, is like, how do I know I'm carrying a mindset from a season before that may have been helpful, but I need to start to think about letting go of in this season. And one of the ways is just by looking at the things that are taking my peace away in my life. I love the Jewish concept of shalom, of peace. And shalom doesn't mean an absence of conflict. It means I can be okay in all circumstances, whether I'm in a moment of peace or conflict or challenge or hope. I can be okay, and I can have a wellness in the middle of that. And so if I start to look that there's a lot of things that seem to be taking my peace away, I need to start to look at the root of, is there something in me that I need to examine in this? And I say, when we begin to find it easy to have enemies, if I'm finding it easy to look at people and say, you're my enemy, um, then I think that I start to say, hey, maybe there's something that I've hardened my mind towards or hardened my heart towards. The Bible says when a person's ways are right, even our enemies will be at peace with us. And that doesn't mean we're never going to have conflict with people, but like that Hmong family that lived next door to Stanley Kowalski, I can work from a power and an honor that can start to open a door with them. That doesn't mean I allow myself to be abused. It just means I open myself to the possibility of humanizing somebody that I've seen as an enemy before.
Hey, Paul, I'm just
Yeah,
curious. Would you mind if I'm curious, and I'm wondering if you're open to sharing a little bit what started shifting your viewpoints and heart that brought you on your journey?
sure. Yeah. Um, so I grew up in a very traditional evangelical Christian home. Sort of my half joke is, in our household growing up, Ronald Reagan and God were neck and neck as the greatest beings that ever existed in the universe. And I learned very quickly that we were right and everybody else was wrong. And we were the good guys and everybody else were the bad guys. And we were going to heaven and everybody else, God was gleefully going to cast into hell. And that was going to be awesome. And he was going to take us out of this earth and then blow up everybody else. And that would be a wonderful day. And that just never really sat well with me. I was watching those evil people and I said, they seem kind of happy and we don't seem very happy. And they seem like they love people. And I don't feel like we love people. And I really wish God would let me love people, but I know I can't. I know it's against my religion. And as I begin to move on in life and certainly begin to act with people outside of my bubble, I started realizing, hey, these aren't bad people at all. Again, I opened my heart to the possibility of giving them humanity and even eternal humanity. And as I did that, I started to find that sat well with my heart. So as my heart started to lead me to love people that I knew I wasn't allowed to love, then my theology had to start to come in line with that. And so I actually started reading the Bible and figured out, like, actually, God loves these people. My God, in my tradition, he actually really wants to push me to love people as well. In fact, there are only two commandments: love God and love your neighbor as yourself. And then in Jesus' story, he defined our neighbor as our enemy. And how we love our enemies is the definition of how we love God. And so, yeah, that really, and so then I had to start to explore a whole bunch of other things, Joe. Is that a good part of the tale, or where else do you want me to go
Yeah,
from there?
yeah. No, but I mean, what are you doing now? Or what are you feeling like you're focusing on now? What's your heart's mission?
Yeah, so I actually started a content creation company called Permission to Speak, because what I saw in my circles of the church was people were afraid to say, hey, something seems a little bit misaligned here. Again, in that church that says we're good and everybody else is bad. And then particularly as ideology began to come and wrap itself around that. So now it was no longer you have to be Christian to be good, but you have to be a Republican Christian to be good, a conservative Christian to be good. I started to say that doesn't fit. So I'm trying to speak out and tell people God does not require this of you. Your religion does not require this of you. This exclusivity actually isn't in the Bible that we say that we follow, and give people permission to speak and permission to think and ask questions. And so I think asking questions is a really important thing. And so I spend a lot of time on TikTok these days and doing podcasts and trying to give people proximity to people they may have never run into before. Like I love doing podcasts with gay Christians, and many Christians believe that's an oxymoron, that there can be no such thing. But when I put them close to somebody that has the Spirit of God coming from their heart, and they are living in have a same-sex, same-gendered spouse, or all those things, then people start to see these are human beings. These aren't those dehumanized creatures that I've had out there before. Then I love to see the possibilities that are open for people, because like Stanley Kowalski, I think we just close ourselves off from opportunities, possibilities, and purposes in life when we're limiting ourselves to only loving those in our bubble. And so, yeah, just trying to give that possibility and thought to people is a really important purpose in my life right now.
Mm.
The amazing thing that's driven me and my wife to, and thank you for the thumbs up, guys, is we've spent a lot of time over the last 2 years sitting with people that weren't in our bubble and asking to hear their story and let it break our hearts. Particularly recently with the communities of color and the people of color in our community, and have said, tell me your story and I will not defend myself or my people. And allowing that to just break our hearts, and have many tear-filled sessions with people, and just say, wow, we never knew. We never knew this of ourselves, and we never knew this of other stories. And so that has really become a purpose in our life of having justice and equality in our city. So that's really been the story for me and my wife, of our journey of how we've been changed ideologically, theologically, and bubbleologically now at this point.
So Paul, thank you so much for your heart, for your journey. I would recommend we do our practice, and I can take this into our practice so that we have time afterwards if people might have some questions or comments. Some of you might have some comments you'd like to say from your heart, to be in dialogue. Does that sound good, Paul?
Absolutely, I'll be here.
Okay, great. So I'm assuming you'll join us in the practice.
Yes, of course.
Okay. All right, so as always, finding a way to sit where your spine can be straight. Remembering there's no right way to do this or wrong way to do this. We're going to practice in power sit with your spine straight, also elongating from the back of your neck, so you're tucking your chin in a little bit, your shoulders are relaxed, your jaw is relaxed, your belly's relaxed. Taking a moment now to focus in your center, that spot in your lower belly, the width of 3 fingers below your navel, a third of the way into the body. Center of personal power, impulse, awareness. From your center, become aware of your contact points, the points of your body that are connecting with what you're sitting on, the chair, the floor. Using those points to register the stability of what you're sitting on, and the more stable you feel that to be, the more you can trust that the chair and the floor will be able to support you. Just allow yourself to be held. Sometimes in these stressful moments, just knowing that it's great if you have someone that can hold you, but sometimes, or it's just good to remember that Mother Earth is always holding you. And as I always say, she doesn't discriminate. She holds each one of us equally. Trust that. Noticing, as we bring ourselves into the present, how you are doing in this moment. And starting with coming more into the present moment by cultivating a relationship with yourself. So first, starting from your center, become aware of your physical body. Really listen to the vocabulary of the physical body. If you've been doing this for a while, see if you can, in a sense, upgrade your vocabulary. What sensations are you feeling? your heart rate, rhythm of breath. From your center, become aware of your emotions, knowing that all of you is welcome in this moment. So without judging your emotions, noticing what is present for you right now. There's also information in that, just like there's information in the physical sensations. There's information in the emotions. Allowing them to flow, allowing energy to flow. Your thoughts, becoming aware of your thoughts, your mental body. Are they tight and judgmental? Are they spacious and generous? Bring your awareness to your heart, where your heart power resides, in the center of your chest. Compassion, respect, understanding. From your center and from your heart, become aware of that part of you that has access to something larger than yourself. And from your center and from your heart, become aware of in this moment how connected you may feel to something larger than yourself. But whatever that means for you. Allowing energy to flow and emotions to flow. How open is your heart at this moment? From like 0 to 100%. Be honest. Now with more of an awareness of yourself in this present moment, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. The more of an awareness of yourself, from your center and from your heart, become aware of your surroundings, keeping your eyes closed. How open is your heart to your surroundings at this moment? How much of your surroundings can you take in? Behind you, above you? More of an awareness of yourself and your surroundings from your center and from your heart. Take a full breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. From your center and from your heart, with more of an awareness of yourself and your surroundings, become aware of those in this practice this morning or this afternoon, this meditation circle, this heart-centered circle of practitioners. Various parts of North America, various parts of Europe, maybe other parts of the world. How open is your heart at this moment to this group? And just establishing that your level of open-heartedness is proportionate with your level of safety. How safe do you feel at this moment with yourself and your surroundings? You feel that in your core, your level of safety. And now with this group of practitioners. Connecting with honor and respect and appreciation, gratitude. With more of an awareness of yourself, your surroundings, and those in this meditation circle, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. And with the support of those in this meditation circle and your own inner sense of power, from your center and from your heart, bringing your awareness now to all human beings, beginning with those human beings you would label loved ones. And who arises in your heart? And let's just see what our practice can be, determining how open is your heart at this moment. Maybe 20%, 80%. Question of where is your heart hardened? Where are you finding softness in your heart at this moment? With those that you are now connecting with, imagining maybe standing face to face with them. From your personal power in your heart, connecting with honor and respect with theirs. Perhaps a feeling of sharing heart connection. And from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of those human beings you would label stranger. Who arises in your heart? Maybe you see faces, maybe you see groups of people. And as you stand with them face to face, how safe do you feel at this moment? How open is your heart? Is there a way to find a way to build connection from your heart with their heart, from your personal power with their personal power? What parts of your heart are hardened? What parts of your heart are soft? Allowing energy to flow and emotions to flow. And from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of those human beings that you would label adversary. Be honest, be present. Who arises in your heart? Maybe you might see faces, you might see groups of people. Standing face to face with them, how safe do you feel at this moment? And how open is your heart? Did that shift? And if so, how? How much and how? And without judgment and no need to go anywhere you don't want to go, just considering what parts of your heart are hardened as you engage with these people. What part of your heart is soft in this practice? Are there any people in this group that you can find access to connect with your heart to their heart? Standing firmly in your personal power. If not, okay. If so, okay. It's about you and your practice. With more of an awareness of yourself, your surroundings, those in this meditation circle, and all human beings, regardless of how you label them, loved one, stranger, or adversary, take a nice, full, deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Noticing from 0 to 100% how open your heart is at this moment. If possible, taking all human beings into your heart as we now narrow our focus and bring it back to those in this meditation circle. Just feel that connection again. Does this shift how open your heart is at this moment? That gratitude, that appreciation, connection. Taking those in this meditation circle into your heart as you bring your awareness back to your surroundings. Even gratitude for your surroundings. Taking your surroundings into your heart as you bring your awareness back to yourself. From your center, your personal power, and your heart. And from your center and from your heart, opening to a deeper connection with yourself. Where is your heart hardened to yourself? Where is your heart soft to yourself? Where can you give yourself a break? Where can you honor yourself? self-compassion, self-mededogen. How open is your heart at this moment? How much are you feeling connected to your personal power, your core, to your battery? Filling up your battery with the efforts that you've just put in. Feeling the igniting in your heart, the practice you've just done. There's a way to close this practice. Let's take one final breath, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Registering the effects of what you've done, taking it into your nervous system to remember this. Any insights, challenges, and the effects, the energy you've generated, breathing that deeply into every cell of your body. At this time, we need as much life force, resilience, power we can get, nourishment, nourishing your organs. And let's take one final breath to close this practice. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Slowly open your eyes, shake your body, stretch your body. So we opened with a motivation. We did our practice. Now we have a chance to reflect. So anybody wants to share what your experience was with the practice or what's coming up for you, or questions or comments for Paul? Curious if Michael has any thoughts at some point. Or Paul, if you have anything else to add?
I think it's a beautiful group and love the spirit I feel from you guys. So thanks for inviting me to be with you today.
Paul, I'm so grateful for your offering. And I felt when we were in the meditation, the expansive connective power of each one of us opening and softening our hearts to the whole human family. And I felt it viscerally when we were brought back into this circle of practitioners, and something inside of me kind of not exploded, that's too harsh a term, but it opened in a way that felt like I could feel the threads of every one of our hearts having opened and softened and received, and then the incredible magnitude of power that then resonated between us and beyond us. So I felt like hallelujah, like not only me personally, but all of us. And then I could feel the thrum happen in reality. So, and you're just awesome, Paul. So thank you for the whole thing. That was beautifully spoken and offered. And I'm super grateful.
Yeah. I think the reward of having a soft heart is you get people in your life. And I love what Joe's doing, because it's such a tough season where people are so feeling they have to be with their tribe. And so it's been the hardest season to try to not have enemies that I've ever lived in my life, to not be separated from people. And even all of the old tactics I've ever used to sort of draw people are failing, but I still think it's a worthy battle. And I love, Joe, what you and your people are pursuing here, because I still think openness to relationship with human beings can be the only answer that we have at this point, other than killing each other and harming each other in some way. And so I think we just have to keep pursuing it as hard as it is right now.
May I say, Paul, that the bubbleology concept is very welcome. I love that idea, and I have had the privilege of being in many weeks with a Pivot on Race group and have been engaging with a young woman outside of the group who is deeply involved in her evangelical church and deeply disappointed in the polarization in her church. And so I feel grateful that I'm here today, because if she doesn't know about your work, she will. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are you complete, Barbara? Yeah. Paul, several things. First of all, thank you for reminding me of the connection between a sense of safety and open-heartedness. I forget that in myself, and I forget that in my judgment of others, that when we don't feel safe, open-heartedness is a very tall order. And I carry the burden of being raised in a country where we did not learn the tragedy and the pain of our victimization. I'm not talking about the United States, I'm talking about Israel. And the ease at which we turned from victim to victimizer because of a sense of lack of safety. It just boggles my mind, And I think that if I can remember that when I'm not my best, it's probably because I'm not feeling safe. And when other people are not at their best, it's probably because they are not feeling safe. That would go a huge way towards my ability to keep my heart open. So thank you for the reminder.
Love that.
Shelley.
Yeah, I think humility is a great tool in this. I don't want to overtalk. I was on an event with a predominantly African American church that had been pre-scheduled, and it was last Wednesday night, and we saw the events of Wednesday, and they had meaning to me in a lot of ways. But then when I was with these 3 African American people on this call, to hear their deep pain of their feeling, if that was us, we'd be dead. And I had to just say, guys, that didn't even register with me how deep your pain is because of that. And just me having the humility to say I didn't know and didn't realize what meant so much to them. So humility is always a great tool to have in this, in approaching people.
So if I can say something quickly, Joe and Paul, thank you so much for this. What came to me during our practice was, speaking of Wednesday and beyond, is the images that we see and are having more time to process since last week. We're seeing people who were part of what we're calling the mob, who clearly didn't want to be there. They were following people into the Capitol, but looking around in awe and maybe confusion. So what those images did for me was give me hope that they're not all adversaries. They may be strangers, but maybe there's hope that folks will sort of, become aware that there's a middle and not two ends. That's it. Thank you.
Anyone else have another reflection?
Yeah, I guess I just want to say also thank you, Paul, for this. And I guess one of the learnings I'm continuing to take from last week, especially, is um, there's some truth to things being darkest before the dawn, and that to sort of continue for myself and in the things that I do in the world to be deeply listening, to try to understand across differences that seem so um, abhorrent to me, but that I do honor the humanity. It's hard to find it sometimes in this moment, but I really believe in that open heart.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Paul, thank you. Keith here from San Francisco. I'm really grateful for what you brought to my awareness, and that is that there are some parts of my heart that need some breaking, some hardness around my relationship with growing up with in the Christian religion as well. In other words, I know I've done a lot of work, but you've made me aware that there's more to be done. There's always more opening that can occur. So I am really, really grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael, you have any thoughts? Yeah, you. Just quickly, anything? You don't have to. You're muted, so I can't hear you.
I think especially Keith, that I have to keep reminding myself that I'm on the journey, I'm on the road, and there's still so much more that I need to work at in my own life. And part of the work is opening myself up to listening to people who are different than me, and that's a struggle. But it's worth every moment of my presence with another person that's different from me, because I'm opening my heart. Okay. And that's so the work, there's still more work to be done with myself, and that I need to keep myself conscious of. Got to keep working at it, can't stop.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. So you're getting all of Paul's podcasts and stuff. Can you say quickly, Paul, the names of your books? I think they're pretty groovy. What's the?
Yeah, I have a novel out. I guess I should have had it with me right here. Huh? Yikes! Sorry, calamity. It's called Joseph Comes to Town. Has the subtitle "When the Religious Right Goes Religiously Wrong," and it's just my imagination of what Jesus in the flesh in America today would say to the church, and how he would reconcile some things that were he walking around here in America today. And it's a little bit autobiographical of the story of my wife and I. So it's the joy of my life. I love it about as much as one of my kids. So would love it if I'm totally kidding on that. That's not true, but I think you'll enjoy it and it'll inspire you. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So it's an honor to have you, Paul. Thank you for coming. You're always welcome to come back, of course. The message I want to just make sure we remember is that in this time is that we don't have to do anything we're not ready to do. And that's opening our hearts to those who we think we can't does not mean that we have to give up anything of our own. And that number one is that we feel safe and that we stay true to our highest values, and anything else is just a step closer to being part of this movement of being protectors, nurturers, and midwives for what is emerging even though we may not always see it in every moment. So with that, I just want to do a dedication, just as we always do. May the energies that we've generated benefit those with hard hearts right now, who are lost and who are confused and who are feeling powerless. May they find their way back to their true power and find it in their vulnerability of their hearts. Blessing all of those who are dedicated to preserving the highest values in this land, in the United States and around the world. May all beings on this planet have enough fresh water to drink and food to eat. And may all governments and leaders govern from a place of wisdom as opposed to fear and greed. So as always, if you feel compelled from your heart to make a donation, this is offered free of charge, but we are collecting donations if you feel compelled. All the money goes to the Fierce Civility Project, which is directly addressing a lot of the things that we're experiencing right now. We're in the process of doing setting up some beautiful projects, books coming along. Thank you for all your support. Have a good week. Take care of yourself and see you next week.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.